Welcome to Comics League Indie Wednesday, this special live edition of Comics League Indie Wednesday. I'm your host, Jared, and today we're talking about comparing the mainstream comic book industry to the indies and like what's better, what are some strengths, what are some weaknesses, and so forth. So let's get right into it. I believe Nick should be joining me soon, as well as some other comics leaguers. We'll see what happens. So I want to do this topic for many different ways. It's because these two get compared a lot on the internet, so kind of wanted to contribute my own little analysis. I think the strengths of indie is that there's less of a fan requirement, there's less of fan pressure when it comes to like how characters should act, how certain things should be in your universe. As long as you're like following the rules that you establish in your universe, it's relatively fine. And by the way, what's up, Spore Hacker? And interesting, like and when you look at like say for instance this, here's what I mean. In modern day DC Comics, we hear many examples of Superman would never do this, or in Marvel, Spider-Man would never do that. But with like indie comics, solo leveling comes to mind. What's up, movie theater? And essentially, it's like when you're doing an indie project, you really don't have that requirement on your product. The disadvantage of indie versus mainstream is that the mainstream, you're working with IPs that people know like extremely well, or well enough that they're very recognizable, like Superman and Batman. The world knows who Superman and Batman are, even on a superficial level. Like they did a study a couple years back talking about how Superman's logo is more recognizable than the Christian cross. You're not going to have that, at least when you're starting off. Now, there are some products that manage to get more into mainstream, like The Boys, Invincible, and such, or The Walking Dead. It's just that there are lots of it's more complicated to get to that. And movie theater, that this mainstream character would never do that until a new writer. Yeah, exactly. And that's my other thing. My problem with that argument, even with the mainstream, is that the blank character would never do that. Well, who's to say that? Because you're dealing with, and Comicstorian has a fantastic way of thinking about this. He said, whenever a new writer comes on a book, like a new Batman writer, a new Superman writer, you have to treat the previous version as it's done. You have to treat each writer as having a different version. So you can't say this character would never do that, this character would never say that. You really can't ultimately. Now, there are times when characters aren't written well. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to like what the writer is doing with the character. You just can't say so-and-so would never do this. It doesn't work. It's like, and that's really where I stand on that. Yeah, it's like when they were saying, when like during the Snyderverse movies, when they were coming out, people were like saying, well, Superman would never act like this. Superman would never do this. Well, first off, there are some comic precedents for Superman acting in the way Zack Snyder wrote him. But anyway, my point is that even with like comics to movies, you can't treat the comics version of the character like you can't treat the movie let me rephrase that. You can't expect the movie version of the character to 100% reflect the character in the comics, because it's not going to translate well. There are so many things in DC Comics that do not translate well to movies, because when you're thinking about movies, us as comic book fans, we have one fatal issue that we always think of. We think of it as fans first and not as general audience members, because that's ultimately what these movies are for. The movies are for the general audience to get introduced to the characters. And we're treating it too much like, oh, they should do this. They should do this. They should have the Clay origin for Wonder Woman. They should bring in Mr. Mxyzptlk. I can never say that dude's name, but you get my point. It's like, that doesn't translate well. If you show a general person, a six-dimensional imp, that's going to back up the whole idea that's slowly being eroded, but it's not going to help the stereotype these movies have of being stupid. Let's be honest. That's just the way it works. Because if you see a six-dimensional imp, they're already losing people with this multiverse stuff. And even my dad, who's like a general audience member who goes to a lot of stuff with me, even he's like, yeah, it's getting a little too confusing. But beyond the fact, here's the thing. That's why I think mainstream comics are really a double-edged sword, because yes, you have the more iconic characters, but you also have, as Jay Heat puts it, an inordinate amount of fan expectations on how these characters are supposed to be. And everyone has their favorite version of the character, which that's fine. That's 100% like within your right as a fan. It's just we have to treat it, particularly with the movies, as if we are not fans of these characters, as if we're approaching them for the very first time. That's why I said, that's why for the longest time, I got news for you. Superman was a joke character. He was still iconic, don't get me wrong, but he was still a joke, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, Superman, really? I doubt that character translates well into medium. The fifth dimension is a difficult... Yeah, exactly. I'm a comics nerd, and I still don't get the whole idea of the sixth dimensional imp. But going back to what I was saying, it's like, listen... there's a reason why up until like Man of Steel, Superman was seen as a joke character, because he was done in such a way that didn't work out that well. And by the way, so let's bring in the boys.
Batman doesn't do ships.
I had to. What's up, Nick?
What is up?
So yeah, so the first thing I'm talking about is about the advantage that the mainstream has over indie is that you're dealing with more recognizable IP. However, it's a double-edged sword, because you're dealing with like IPs that have lots of fan expectations on how these characters are supposed to act.
That and money. They have
True.
the advantage of the mainstream has, like you said, is the recognition of the characters, its resources, and just honestly just legacy, really.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Yeah, the money issue is slowly going away, because here's the thing. The mainstream is not even paying their creatives anymore. They're getting in trouble for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's getting to the point where people are like, do I really want to... Marvel and DC used to be the end goal for writers. Now it's just a stepping stone. They're like, yeah, I'll write here for a little while, build up my brand, then I'll move on.
Yep, that's exactly what Chuck Dixon told us in the interview.
Yeah. By the way, that was an awesome interview. Thank you very much. So but the advantage that I said that indie has is that, again, there is no fan expectations of the characters. You could do pretty much whatever you want, as long as you're still delivering a quality product. As long as you don't like break the rules in your universe, as you said. As long as they're like consistent with the rules that you set up, just like supermarket jobs. Nice, Spore Hacker. But as long as you follow the rules that you set up in your universe, you're good. It's not like you have to deal with an editorial coming down your neck and going, no, you have to make the characters do this.
Yeah, definitely indies are a lot more flexible. They also, the other thing is, indies can afford to take a lot more risks. Like, that's kind of like the really the biggest advantage of it, is because there are no expectations, you can go crazy. You can literally have a flaming carrot as your character, by the way, that actually exists.
Mm-hmm. I can tell. I worked at 2. Oh, it's cool. Which ones?
Yeah, Spore Hacker's from like one of the Nordic countries, so it might be something we don't recognize.
Oh, it's okay. Right, but yeah, that's the other point. But here's the thing, Nick. Here's the other part. Here's an advantage and a disadvantage that one Dutch, one German. Okay, here's the advantage and disadvantage that indie has. It's dependent upon your work ethic, which that could be an advantage because it's all on you, but that all on you is also a disadvantage because it's a significant more amount of pressure. You're not just going to have someone pick up the book because it's Batman.
Yeah, I would say that is certainly something that I've worked to my benefit. Like, I think even my most ardent haters, they can't deny that I have a certain work ethic. I have a certain dedication to my craft that has helped me greatly. So
you are consistent in what you do, and that's the key thing. Even on YouTube, making YouTube videos, consistency is 100% key.
Agreed.
But getting enough rest is another. Yeah, that's another issue. But I mean, uh, let me ask you this, Nick. Why do you think indie comics right now are thriving for the most part, while the mainstream is diving, if you will?
I think it's simple, really. Indie is giving people what they want. Like Marvel and DC are so obsessed with doing like their diversity quotas, just literally turning every character gay.
Mhm.
You know, they've kind of lost sight of like what makes their comics popular, and it's just people want these stories, and so they turn elsewhere.
That's why what you and I did. We based our books. I don't want to speak for you, but I can at least say for myself. I based mine around a popular idea of like the superhero team. You base yours on I guess like in some ways doing Batman without doing Batman, which works because we're taking what people like about these characters, but we're putting another coat of paint on them and saying, okay, so here's basically the Justice League. Here's basically Batman, but they're not, but they're more free. In other words,
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
mean, Screecher is definitely Batman inspired. But the thing that was kind of more to it than that,
Mhm.
like Screecher, I'm trying to evoke kind of like a late '90s, early 2000s feel. Like I'm trying to do like a like a Batman the animated series kind of
Mhm.
feel. It's definitely trying to evoke a certain era of it.
Yeah, but my point is, you're taking a popular character and going, here's my version of this character. Here's why.
I mean,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying it's kind of there's a little bit more to it than just like, oh, it's Batman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's like with me, and yeah. Oh yeah, it's also the Justice League. So with my book, because yeah, I'm heavily inspired by that, but particularly a particular version of the Justice League, which for the most part is came from a 4-hour movie. But that's besides the point. But yeah, and also
Release the Atlas cut.
release the Atlas. So I
by
did
the
a
way,
video.
By the way, you
Mhm.
better start doing a hashtag when you do your comic where it's like release the blah 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 cut like that.
I'll
you need
have
to
like a director's cut and go release the Comics League cut. But once our friend Snyder Queen, so I did a video that was basically a summation of the Snyder movies in one video, all three, and then it kept I had to cut a lot of parts out before copyright reasons. So then I told Sammy this, and she goes, "Oh yeah, release the Jared cut." Maybe I'll do that
support
somehow.
that. Release the league.
Release the league. I like that one. So
Oh, so please tell me. At one point, one of your enemies will say, "Will you use the old ways?"
oh yes. Oh yes. That may even be
I-
the ending again.
I know you already said like you're gonna have a not impressed team, which I can't wait.
Oh, trust me, dude. You're gonna dig my last battle of the movie.
I've already told you I'm back in the $100 tier, so you've already got my money.
Yeah. So, in terms of here's a good thing. Here's a thing that both of that really the comic book industry have over like all other industries. I think in terms of what you can actually draw, in terms of what you can actually do, it's zero cost for the most part. I mean, you can draw like the most bombastic battles, not have to worry about CGI, not have to worry about a VFX budget. It's just draw it. Does manga fit as mainstream comics?
Yes, yes and no. Manga is kind of a separate thing, but like it's also part of it at the same time. Yeah, the manga versus mainstream comics is honestly kind of a bit of a different discussion, mainly because manga is doing so well compared to mainstream comics. It's a similar related issue, but like there's different factors that you need to kind of treat it as a separate discussion, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and also it depends on the genre and popularity. And here's the thing: here's an advantage mainstream has also over. I mean, indie has over mainstream, and you kind of touched on it. It's the legacy thing. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's why indie comics, I think, are winning. Another reason why you don't have to read anything else to get caught up on what the story is. It's like with mine and with Nick's. You don't have to have read 70 years of Screecher and Athena to understand who Screecher and Athena are. Where with Batman, have you ever tried? Has anyone ever asked you, Nick, I want to get into Batman? I'm like, okay, that's a very complicated question.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of comics, and this happens to like a lot of recent ones too, is you need to Google like a reading order. Like for me, I've been wanting to get into the Power Ranger comics, and like so I Googled a reading order, and it is so convoluted because it's like split between two different comics and timelines, and just like. I just want to read Dragon and Shattered Grid and understand what's going on. Why do I need to like bounce between read 11 through 6, do this, do that, It's just so convoluted. I'm just like, I don't even want to bother with this. So yeah, I don't engage. Yeah.
That's why I know that DC gets a lot of heat for like their constant reboots, but that's why I always say regular reboots are actually a good thing, because then because if someone wants to get into comics and they know a reboot is coming up, they'll go, okay, I'll wait and get on the number one. It's like with me. My answer is Year One, Long Halloween, and New 52 Court of Owls. Excellent choices, because all of those are good starting points.
Yeah, like I'd say one of the things that the advantage that DC has is they have a lot of like standalone-ish storylines and even stuff that's in continuity. When they do, like for example, Hush.
Mm-hmm.
Hush is a storyline that is very much in the continuity of Batman at the time. But if you just pick it up and read it, you can read it from start to finish, and it's a complete story, and you can understand everything.
And here's the thing: in that book specifically, they explain Batman's origin in that book so well. So it's like it's essentially like watching Batman Begins, and that you get the full story. You understand who Batman is. You understand even who Superman is. You understand all these all Batman's rogues, and it's just easy. And again, the reason why New 52 is a good one. That's the first arc of the New 52. That's why I came in the New 52, because again, I didn't have to read anything. I just had to show up and read Justice League #1 by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. Fantastic run, by the way. You should read that. I have 2 Omnibuy and all the trades. But yeah, I had to, because that was like the first run that I really read full. But anyway, but that's the other thing. Again, but however, here's the thing about that. Here's the advantage that mainstream has, and it goes to legacy. It is also part of the fun of trying to complete runs. And also, here's the other point. This is the advantage that, and Comicstorian says, the advantage that mainstream has over indie, the shared universe. Because manga's not doing the whole shared universe with all the manga properties. It's not like
you're not seeing Goku hang out with Naruto.
As cool as that would be, but and then Eren Yeager shows up. But anyway, where in any Batman adventure, even a story just featuring Batman, like Hush, you'll have Superman show up, or he'll reference, the Justice League is doing this right now,
or like in just like a random Nightwing book, the Flash will show up, and just talk to Barbara.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a cohesive shared. Cohesive is a generous term nowadays, but it feels like a shared universe. But again, That's why regular reboots are important. Which I get people don't like them because it makes all of my One Piece and Dragon did do a crossover, but it's not a regular thing, is what I'm talking about. But as I was saying.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is, while you certainly can put out like these random crossovers, blah blah. The fact is, and this is both a Marvel and DC thing, there is casual crossovers where you'll just have like a Spider-Man book and just the Human Torch will just randomly appear. He'll bring pizza to like you'll just see Johnny and Peter on the rooftop sharing a pizza, just talking about stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like Peter will show up and see Captain America. Crossovers in anime only happen if, 1, they are made by the same author, yes, or 2, the company allows a crossover, which rarely happens. Again, where in like Marvel and DC, I mean, the writer doesn't exactly have any say in that matter. It's just editorial saying
I will
crossover
say
that
this is
character.
also, I think this is also kind of the key difference between like manga. This is probably best for like the manga versus the mainstream stream,
We
which
can do
I think
again
we can
too.
do. Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences is manga is all based on the creators. Like you don't really see many like all these mangas made by a company. It's all based on the creator. Here they can work with the company, but it's the creator that kind of controls everything. It's basically a bunch of indie creators that got really popular, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus American comics is you got your big two, and then that.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh does, but it's all Yu-Gi-Oh characters. That's the thing. Where when in mainstream you have like Batman characters interacting with Superman characters and so on, so on. Second only is Pokemon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's why when you had that Yu-Gi-Oh movie where it brought like all three protagonists together, they could do that because they're in the same franchise.
Yeah, it's easier in that way. And by the way, they just did a Batman comic where he meets Michael Keaton Batman.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so they're doing the storyline where Batman is traveling through the multiverse, and he met like Michael Keaton. He met like the Dark Knight Returns Batman. He met the Arkham Batman.
Did he meet any of the other like movie ones? Did he meet like Christian Bale or?
I don't remember, but it's really trippy. Mm-hmm.
The probably the reason why he met Michael Keaton Batman is because of the Flash movie.
Most likely, yeah. But going into that, it's like now. Here's where Arkham is legendary. Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love Arkham. But what's the comic called? I think it's just a regular Batman series that's going on right now. I think it's Zdarsky is writing it right now. But
he's a pretty good writer.
He's a really good. If you read his, I have his entire first part of his Daredevil run. It's stellar. But so the other, I mean, see, here's the thing. There are some indie properties that again travel into mainstream, like again Invincible, Walking Dead, The Boys. I think The Boys is popular because they're so similar to the Justice League, but so not similar in other words. So it's like, okay, there's a Superman, a Batman character, a Wonder Woman character, but they're all evil. And that whole idea about the evil, like superpowered people is so appealing to people, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. And the other thing about like The Boys is it's pretty commonly accepted that like the TV show is a lot better than the books.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've seen what happens. I've like perused. I've looked at previews of The Boys books, and I'm like, yeah, no, please.
Yeah, like if you think the show is very dark and edgelordy, yeah, nothing on the comics.
If you want to know what Herogasm actually was and why people were so nervous when they were approaching that episode, I would say don't read the comics, because please do not read that. I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
Quick tangent. I'm actually really kind of like frustrated where like they were hyping up Herogasm all season long. They're like, we ran out of fake blah blah blah. It's like, oh, this is so crazy. It's so wild. And they watch the episode. It's like,
we're on to the
really?
Boys. There were like Jensen Ackles did a post saying he has to bleach his brain, and I'm like, as soon as the episode ends, I'm like, that's it?
It's not even the full episode.
It's not even the full yeah, it's not all the episodes on there, but even at the end of that episode, I was like, that was what they were hyping up as like one of the most like crazy episodes ever. It's a regular Tuesday in The Boys. But
yeah.
Let me ask you this, Nick. Why do you think these properties like your Walking Dead, your Boys, your Invincible have managed to pass into more mainstream?
Well, first off, The Walking Dead was on Image, and that was like it. Image is kind of like it definitely started out as an indie label, but like nowadays it's pretty mainstream. and especially by the 2000s, which was like the time when The Walking Dead came out, it was a pretty mainstream label by that point. So the fact that it was on Image, certainly helped it out. I believe isn't The Boys an indie Image comic as well?
I think. Let me look that up real quick. Comics. The Boys comics are published by Wildstorm and Dynamite.
Okay, so yeah, like pretty mainstream labels. Like Dynamite is it may not be as big as the big two, but like they're fairly mainstream.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had these little pushes. I think with them, they just kind of offered something that no other comic was doing at the time. The Walking Dead was like right before the zombie craze. Like I feel like the zombie craze kind of started in like the mid 2000s. Like when the zombie craze happened, The Walking Dead was like right there, and it had already been going for like 5 years at that point.
Yeah, and I would say it actually started the zombie craze.
Zombie craze kind of comes and goes, but I would say like that version of zombie craze, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because remember, like zombie crazes, like you had stuff in like the late 60s and the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Like zombies have been around for a long time.
That's true.
But yeah, like like honestly, you can always tell how society like this is another tangent. It's more topic for another time. But you can always tell, like, kind of give a pulse of a society by what media. Like, for example, the zombie craze couldn't be interpreted as a reaction to 9/11. Where you had, like, anyone could be the enemy. Like, that's why in the 50s, you had alien invasions or just, like, a singular force versus our force because of Cold War paranoia. It's fully a topic for another time. But
you would think that there would be like a second zombie craze during COVID, right?
I don't know. You kind of I need to I don't know. Like I can definitely say, like post COVID, we're definitely seeing a shift more towards positive stories. I think like I definitely feel like after COVID, people don't want like the doom and gloom. They don't want the dark, edgy stuff. Like definitely seem to want more positive stories nowadays. That like it's a little bit too early to tell, but that's what it feels like.
That's true because I mean, you also had that after 9/11. People wanted more heroic stories, and after people deal with their own crises, they don't want edgelord stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But moving on, it's like I think part of the reason again is because The Boys translates well. I mean, people saw The Boys as like just the evil version of the Justice League. In other words, they were close enough that they still got to like feed kind of off of the recognition of the DC characters, and that they were pretty much that.
Yeah, like that's the thing about The Boys is there's very clear parallels, like Homelander, Superman, Queen Maeve is Wonder Woman, A-Train is the Flash. Like it's very like Black Noir is Batman. It's they got very clear parallels that like even like anybody can really see and pick up on.
Yeah. Oh, I love where the honest trailer for The Boys, where the guy goes, "Where Superman is a sociopath, Aquaman is the sexual perv. Martian Manhunter is a perv. Aquaman is a sexual predator, and Batman is pretty much the same." I love that. That's so good. But also, I think that applies also to Invincible because when you look at it. Again, it's very much like the DC universe, except it's more of the Teen Titans angle, I think. So again, I think if you have, that's another way I think that you can like, I don't want to say cut in line if you're creating an indie project, but I guess kind of. If you have stuff where there are clear parallels to characters people know, they'll be like, okay, I'm a fan of the Justice League. I'm a fan of Batman. I can see they're obviously inspired by these properties. I guess if I know these characters, I'll know for the most part what a lot about these people.
Yeah, because like most people have a passing familiarity with like the big heroes like Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman,
particularly since the movies.
and so when you see the boys and you see these obvious parallels, you already have an idea of what the characters are, and so when they subvert it, it's a little more impactful.
Plus, again, the idea of the evil Superman actually is way more popular than a lot of DC fans.
I would say it's currently a little played out.
Well, I think back in the Boys' heyday, when the Boys first started, I think it was more like, oh, this is awesome. Now I think people are starting to see it's a little played out.
Yeah, definitely.
But here's the thing. I would argue it's never going to go completely away because, again, people are like, okay, this guy that has the powers of a god, there's no way he's going to be all good. In other words, that the Boys turned into what people think these superheroes would realistically be like. And then Mask of Shy says, Invincible feels like, what if Peter Parker was Kryptonian and his father was Zod that fell in love? Oh, that's actually a good point.
Actually, that's actually really good.
Yeah, nice. I never thought of that. That's true. He is Spider-Man. Yeah. Evil Superman is kind of milked out. Now it is what I'm
saying. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
He said milked out.
Just got that in terms of like, I seen the Boys. I just got that. I was like, oh.
Spore Hacker, I don't know if you realize what you just did, or you might have done that deliberately. But
he said he never got into the Boys, so that's probably by accident.
All right, Spore Hacker, you unintentionally made a very bad pun / reference
to the Boys.
I both applaud you and hate you right now, but very well done.
Thanks for putting that image in our heads. That's really appreciative. But I mean, what other like advantages do you think mainstream has over indie?
Like I said, it's they have more of a reach, they have more of a push. Also the fact that exposure, honestly, because like you don't really see many indie characters get movies or TV shows. I mean, that's starting to change, but like, I mean, how often do you go see when's the next time you're gonna go see an Atlas movie?
Mm-hmm. Oh, soon. But I think that's why they've transitioned from movies to series, because I think TV series people see as less of a commitment, so they're more willing to check out the characters.
What's funny is TV shows are ironically more of a commitment, because a movie is like 2.5 hours and you're done, versus a TV show is often 8, 10, 12 hours.
But it can be less of a monetary commitment. So you're like, okay, I can go see like what's going to amount to be $20 to $40 to see a movie, or I could stay home and watch a series. Resources and marketing teams can actually, although arguably the marketing teams of a lot of these companies aren't working right.
Yep.
You know what's bad? When their version of marketing is just killing off a character and saying, this is never done before, people are going to be shocked. And when they announced that Kamala Khan was dying, people were like, so?
Apparently, you can really tell the marketing team was born in like the late 90s, early 2000s, because they've never heard of Death of Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, I remember when they announced the death of the Justice League and the entire DC community was like, they're going to come back.
Or like Batman, when they killed off Batman in the late 2000s.
Yeah, but I'm like, you can't do that anymore, because since the death of Superman, we all know death is meaningless.
Yep, Jean would be rolling in her grave. That is, if she stayed in for 5 minutes. I really need to find that.
It's so true, though, because I even said this when I was talking about a Phoenix book back when I did by Phoenix, I mean X-Men, not Phoenix Press. This is before I met Nick, because I used to do X-Men Wednesdays. But I did this because I was like, hey, here's the problem with Jean Grey and Scott. Scott's constantly being emotionally abused by the fact that his wife won't stay dead or stay alive. Again, it's like, or like Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman dying. So Nobody stays dead except Nora Allen.
No one stays dead except Uncle Ben.
Well,
They brought back Nora Allen a couple times.
Spider-Verse and Pa Kent's alive in the current continuity.
Oh, give me a break.
Yeah,
not TJ, but like just the idea of it.
Mm-hmm. Or like, or Bucky Barnes and Jason Todd. They stay dead, right? That silence tells me yes, they stay dead, of course. But it's like, again, death is very meaningless at this point. So what? So I don't know why these marketing companies keep using death as marketing. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
No one's buying it, both in terms of like believability and monetary incentive. You can tell that. But again, here's the thing: what I do want to transition to, this is the best time to be doing an indie project, because guess what? The mainstream companies aren't exactly performing up to snuff, and people will always want superhero stories. The whole idea about how people are just tired of superheroes in comics is just wrong. It's not true. We're just tired of hearing the same stories over and over again and told in a way that's crappy storytelling. And what's up, Tevia?
And did someone say Super Sons?
No, that's probably you. Someone probably thought it.
So yeah. Tevia can read minds, confirmed. But like, and that's totally true. Like, I'm giving people what they want with Screecher. You will be
in
giving
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them past them to have an Uncle Ben Spider-Man. I would not get.
That was actually in Spider-Verse. Thanks, Dan Slott. That's why I'm doing my own thing. Yep.
Can someone please kill me now?
I know. It's annoying. And by the way, Nick, because you asked. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because he asked. So, yeah, okay. But yep, that's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't. I mean, they keep coming back. They don't necessarily stay dead, but they have. It comes and goes. In other words.
Yeah, they're in a rejuvenation cycle.
Oh, you mean they're in a Kryptonian healing coma? I'm reading Under the Red Hood, and like it's kind of funny because Batman's going to all of his friends who have died to see if like it's possible to come back to life. And he goes to Superman. He goes, Superman, you died, and Superman was like, oh, no, I was actually in a state that like mirrored death. And then Batman goes, did that really happen, or is it just what we told each other to like try and make this believable? You know, that's probably Judd Winnick going, that's BS.
I gotta.
It's better than Superboy Prime punching reality, causing ripples that Jason Todd came back to life. So literally, Jason Todd was punched back to life.
Could you say he was snapped back to reality? Oh, there goes gravity.
Not snapback. Nope, it's an actual punch back.
Punch back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
Yeah, exactly. But what were you saying?
This was the part where I actually like what the New 52 did to Red Hood, where they basically reinterpreted it to where like Ra's al Ghul felt guilt after the whole like death in the family thing, so he put Jason into one of the Lazarus pits, and like that actually explains why Jason acts irrational sometimes.
And I think they took that origin for the movie Under the Red Hood, because obviously they would have to do Superboy Prime, and they're not going to do that. They just said, oh yeah, because Ra's al Ghul, I believe, hired the Joker to distract Batman. He didn't know that the Joker was going to kill Jason Todd.
Which, if you actually read like the Death in the Family storyline, like Ra's al Ghul is nowhere in that book.
Yeah, he is not in that comic.
Also, like, reading that book is actually kind of crazy because at one point the Joker becomes the ambassador for Libya, and so he's able to enter the U.S. under diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, and it was Iran, and Batman can't touch him, and even Superman's like, "Yep, we can't touch him." And I'm like, "It's the Joker. What are you doing?"
Yeah, it was. Oh my. Yeah, that is peak comics right there. Also, I have to say it. Diplomatic immunity.
To quote Comics Drake, because comics. That's why. That's the only way to explain this. I love that Ra's al Ghul moment in the movie. Yeah, it was awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
It
I've
also
always
shows-
loved Ra's and Batman's dynamics. Like they're fighting each other, and he fights all the League of Assassins to get to Ra's, and like when he gets to Ra's, it's like, he Batman.
I'll be entertaining guests. Don't worry. But I love because that shows the mutual respect that Ra's al Ghul has for Batman and Batman has for Ra's. It even shows that there are some lines that Ra's al Ghul won't cross.
Yeah, that's why I've always loved their dynamic because it's like a mutual respect between the two.
Yeah, he even calls him detective, and I'm like, okay, I like that. And he even called Tim Drake that, as you have said multiple times on the show.
I need to track down that run and actually read it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I mean, and that gets into the other thing also that I want to talk about. Speaking of adaptations, see, here's the thing. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. An example of they don't work is the Bloodshot movie, which, by the way, I enjoyed.
Could we please make the suit green or animated?
That was actual mainstream property. It's I'm talking about indie.
Oh.
Or like Wanted. I didn't even know that was a comic book.
Well, see, the thing is, with a lot of those Millar properties, they basically reinterpret them fully. Like, because if you actually read the Wanted comic book, it's basically about what if supervillains had taken over the world. Mm-hmm. It's totally different. Honestly, it is as name only as you can get. Like, also, by the way, Kingsman is an independent comic property.
Mm-hmm.
With that one is actually it's somewhat similar, but they take a lot of liberties. Kick-Ass is actually pretty on point, I'd say.
I love Kick-Ass. Those two movies are great. What would you say is the most accurate comic to screen adaptation for indie properties that you have seen?
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass? Okay.
This is just off the top of my head. I think Spawn, there was an attempt, I think, hampered by its rating.
It's still an enjoyable movie, but yeah, I want it to be R. And my Tevia, yeah, I like the Wanted too. We're just saying that compared to the comics, it's a completely different thing.
As a movie, it's not bad. I actually enjoyed it.
But here's the thing: was that before? Did that movie come out before the MCU craze?
No, it was during the Phase 1, Phase 2 era.
Okay, so I was about to say, because if it was before, that could be why they changed it. But now that I know not, I'm like,
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of those movies, I know Kick-Ass and Kingsman were both directed by Matthew K. Vaughn, who I sing the praises of constantly. By the way, he also directed X-Men First Class.
Yep. Awesome. A bad adaptation I can think of is the bad Hellboy remake. The remake, not the actual first couples.
I'm gonna get heat for this, but I actually think the reboot of Hellboy wasn't bad. It was just meh.
Me too.
I think the guy who played Hellboy, I know he's the guy from Stranger Things. I think he did a decent enough job. Ron Perlman's better. I think he was a lot of it is it's fine. Like a lot of it's just like all of it you can say it's fine. Like everything, the the original two are better objectively, but like a lot of it is it's fine.
It's okay.
Not bad. It's like that's you can say that about literally everything in the movie. Like Ian McShane as the father was fine. It's like everything about that movie was just safe.
And by the way, Spore Hunter has a question for you.
But by all means, please. Do you need me to send you a copy of the PDF then?
So
I think he has it though. I think he has it. I was just double checking.
Another property I was thinking that got adapted that okay. Here's what I wanted to say. Here's an adaptation that I think was fantastic. That nailed it. The second Judge Dredd movie. Which, by the way, that is going to be a movie night movie.
The first one, while not terrible, it just fundamentally did not get the character.
So, in other words, the Master Cheeked Judge Dredd. I love that face.
If this was my stream, you'd be getting F off barred.
Yeah, I know, but still, you can't tell me that's not wrong. Helmet off, helmet on, helmet off, helmet on. Whereas this one, it's like, yeah. Plus, also Carl Urban as Judge Dredd was fantastic. I am the law.
Yeah. Yeah, the way they kind of integrated the I am the law was just mwah.
And just the way, because he could do emotion without seeing his face. All you saw was his chin.
Also,
chin and mouth, yeah.
My favorite line in the whole movie is at the very end, and she says, "Looks like you've been through it." He says, "Drug bust, perps were uncooperative." Like that one line just sums up Dredd perfectly.
That is so good. I love
he
that.
He was just through the fight of his life. He was just dead 3 times over. It's like, this is a below average day. Like this isn't
like,
even like this isn't even the worst day of his life. This is like slightly below average.
My favorite line is when he's doing the perp and he goes, "Easy, hot shot." What? I said hot shot, and he just blasts the dude with the hot shot gun.
Oh, also, like, if we're talking about favorite moments from Dredd, it's sort of a payoff where it's like, you ready? You don't look ready. You ready? You look like just like the perfect capstone for her character arc. Like they literally wrote in the beginning and end point of her character arc. I love it.
And I love where, like, even after she loses her gun because that was an automatic failure, he still passes her and he goes, "Yeah, she's fine. She's fine. That was beyond her control."
Yeah, and probably like they even did like a girl boss moment, right? Where it's like when like she let him go and like he's like, "While I'm still a judge, I'm still gonna exercise my thing. Like maybe I can do something good in this world." And he just lets it, like, you know that it's Judge Dredd, and that perp would be dead. Like, he let it have, and I think that was probably the moment where he realized, okay, she's Dredd's material.
Yeah, she's Judge. Yeah, I love the dynamic between Anderson and Judge Dredd. Yeah, they nailed that. Is Anderson like a standard character in the judge and the?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, good. I was wondering about that. But again, the thing about it is that I know next to nothing about Dredd except for what I saw in that movie, and for what I saw, I was like. My favorite shot though is when he throws the Lena Headey out the window and you see it all in slow motion.
Yeah, I mean, the slow mo was kind of a thing because like the film was made for 3D, mm-hmm. Like, and the slow mo sequences were specifically designed to work well in 3D. Like, if you ever get a chance, please try and watch Dredd in 3D. It should be a pretty good experience.
Yeah, I know. You know, we need. I just thought of this. All right, a Dredd Batman crossover movie where it's Batfleck.
I swear there's been crossover comics. Like
it has. But can you imagine a movie with Batfleck and Judge Dredd with Carl Urban playing Judge Dredd? That version of Batman teaming up with Judge Dredd. And you make it R-rated. That makes me a happy boy.
And then what if they both have to go on the long walk and all of a sudden Batman's in his nightmare outfit?
Yes. No, Judge Dredd shows up in the nightmare timeline and this Batman with his scar age. But again, that's an occasion of a indie comics movie, not indie movie, but a movie based on a non-mainstream property that I think did really well, and I really wish it gets a sequel because I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, Dredd is really good. Yeah, like if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it.
You need to watch that. It will be a Comics League movie night. It'll have to be one of our picks, but we'll see what happens because. First off, that is a comic book movie. It still counts. And second off, it is badass. Pretense for a comic. Former king leaves his empire to start a happier life. The matriarch wife enjoys her new power, but understands the people's desire for the old king. She becomes evil. Oh, that's cool. I dig that. I am not.
So you're saying you could call it the Return of the King.
That's good. I like that. After trying to shift the king in a new direction, that's good. The Return of the King. Jeez, that's awesome.
By the way, people, I'm joking. I obviously
if Zack Snyder comes back to DC, I'm going to make an image that's him with the crown, and it's just going to say "Return of the King."
That will be glorious.
Yeah, particularly if it brings back the crew. Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con this year is going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be real. We'll see what happens. If like the most I think we'll get for Superman is a casting.
Yeah, but if we're gonna get anything Snyder related, there's gonna be announced there.
No, not necessarily, because it could be after again Rebel Moon comes out. Because that gives more leverage, one to Snyder and another to Netflix, saying, "Hey, you're doing a great job for us. You're making us a ton of money. We want more of your content." And DC is already licensing stuff to us.
I hear. Okay, here are my predictions for Comic Con. Batman 2 is going to be announced.
Yeah.
They're going to or a teaser. They're going to announce the villain. Give some details. They're going to talk about Superman Legacy. We're going to get a casting announcement. What other movies are in also, we're going to get a trailer for Joker 2. I'm going to put that as a 99% certainty because remember, Joker 2 has been filming. So
they have enough for a trailer.
Also, what Blue Beetle comes out what time this year? Late. We're gonna get more stuff about Blue Beetle because that's coming out later this year.
We'll probably get another trailer for Blue Beetle. I think we're getting an Aquaman 2 trailer.
Yes. The other thing is, I think the most Snyder related is they might announce the Emerald Cut.
Could. And by the way, it's going to be very interesting if they put in the Ben Affleck cameo in the Aquaman trailer. Because you know what's kind of funny? There's a shot in the most recent Flash trailer that's of the abandoned ending. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. But if you're not going in that direction, which it's confirmed by people who have seen the movie, they're not doing the whole replacing Affleck with Keaton, obviously. But that's like odd that they would use that.
I think probably what's going to happen is they're just replacing Superman at this point.
And Batman, because I mean, unless Zach comes back, I think we can count Cavill and Affleck as out.
How crazy would it be if they did Batman the Brave and the Bold, but it's still Affleck's still there?
It would be awesome. Again, I would love for Affleck to continue to be Batman. Because, by the way, here's the thing, though. A lot of people, after seeing The Flash and the fan reactions, are saying we want more Affleck and Miller. So I'm like, that's why I tell people, and then we'll wrap up. If The Flash does well, one of two things are possible. Selling or Elseworlds. Because here's the thing. The whole reason why they were doing the reboot is because Zaslav was convinced that these current versions of these characters aren't profitable. If this movie makes, let's say, $1 billion, at least, I think it's going to make $1 billion. So let's go off of that. And people are saying on social media that they like Affleck and thing. I think at some point we will get a continuation of at least the Snyderverse. It would be interesting if after Flash comes out, we get an announcement for the Affleck HBO Max series.
Or they're announcing they're retooling Batman the Brave and the Bold, and it's just gonna be a Batfleck movie. And
yeah. Because what they could do, here's the thing: if the Flash comes out and they want to bring back those elements, here's what they could do with even Superman Legacy: retool it, cast that David guy because he looks like young Cavill, and just say it takes place before
what? Okay, I like what TJ just said. What if the Flash makes more than Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Oh boy, it's making. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
If it beats Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that's not good for Gunn.
Yeah, because it's not his movie. It's not his movie.
It's it's multi-layered because Guardians of the Galaxy 3, not only is it Gunn's movie, it's also a Marvel movie, and also Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is actually a relatively popular franchise.
And by the way, I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
So if the Flash is kind of like the least popular member of the whole Snyder Justice League thing. So if he can make a bit like more than the Guardians of the Galaxy, this is just more ammo in our quiver. I'm not going to say gun because it just doesn't work. But
Here, the best action should be for Gunn to say, I will do Superman Legacy, but the ZSJL will continue in a different timeline. They could do that. Story-wise, they'll probably just put it in another timeline. We're just saying also, if the Flash makes $1 billion, it makes it more likely that like DeLuca and Abdi can come to David Zaslav and say, yes, continue on with the Gunverse. That's fine. But we could also either license the Snyderverse to Netflix, #sell to Netflix, or you could just do it as an Elseworld story, because we just saw that these versions of the characters are popular, and ZSJL is canon to the Flash.
The fact that they did that and they didn't I really feel like they're kind of chickening like this. I mean, Warner Brothers has been doing this for 10 years. They announced like a big, bold new direction, and they chicken out, and they just because remember the Snyder here's a dirty little secret.
Quick.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Yes, thank you. The Snyder Cut has never not been canon for the past 10 years. Like, we have been in the Snyderverse this entire time.
But the difference is that we were wondering which version of Justice League was canon. Which now we can say Justice League has now become the Elseworld story. It's on Earth BS. It's in, you know what it is? So in the Forge of Worlds, where they make the multiverse worlds, there was like some like dregs and some like, there were some trash worlds that all got amalgamated into one Earth. And this is where like Justice League and Birds of Prey reside in Earth trash. No, but here's the thing.
I'm loving this.
Here's the thing. With the Flash, they had to canonize ZSJL. You know why? That's the only one where Flash uses time travel.
They're like, crap.
Yeah, first off, and here's the thing. I think they had to, because here's how popular the Snyder Cut is. And even Snyder's movies are becoming more popular, because here's the thing with Snyder. Even if his movies aren't popular now, they will be down the line.
Like I said, I've met plenty of people in the real world who love the Snyder stuff. But like, I think Emerald Cut might be kind of like the next thing. Like, imagine a black and white and green movie.
Oh, that would be kind of like how you were doing the Blood and Steel edition of Screecher.
Oh, thank you for the plug.
I love that.
But yeah, just imagine they do the Emerald Cut and like, or it's like black and white and limited colors. Like you see like red pop out, you know.
Yeah,
like,
because of blood. Or just do the regular, or just here's what you do: release it as a short and just release the scene. You don't even have to recut Justice League.
Like just imagine like the black, white, and green, or just like
so
limited
good.
colors. Like, oh my God.
If there's anyone who would try that, it's Zack Snyder.
And if there's anyone who could do it well, it would be Snyder.
Speaking of videos, I just uploaded my reaction to Demon Slayer. Oh, nice. But yeah, so I think we're gonna get some Snyder stuff at the earliest end of this year after Rebel Moon comes out. Latest middle of next year, I'll say, is when we'll start to hear there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. Because I'm convinced after SnyderCon, something is happening.
Yeah, like I feel like they're going to announce something there, but like the last minute something happened. I really feel like it.
Because if that was really Zack Snyder saying goodbye to DC, he would have just told us like the Joker killing Robin. If anything, he said that could be something fun to see at some point. And even the moderator, who would know, is saying it might be something we get. It might be a spoiler for something we get to see in the near future.
Oh, we talked about this ad nauseum. He was this like the whole like. This was a celebration of what he's done. This was not a tribute. This was not a send-off. The whole mood was like, hey, this was awesome. We should do this again sometime. That was basically the entire tone of all the panels. It was not, hey, this was great. I love doing this. Thank you for all your support. There was not a hint of finality to any part of this panel.
Except for the moment, the Emerald Cut. That was the one where Snyder was like 100% on the line saying, it's not up to me. That was the only one where he gave a definitive answer. That's the thing.
That is more telling than anything else. Like everything else, he was very vague with, but like that one specific thing that he was not, like, he was very definitive about, that says so much.
And remember, even when they're saying, I don't know, that there are other, I mean, it's possible or something like that. And then one of the other panelists goes, well, remember, before it was impossible that Zack Snyder's Justice League would come out. So I'm like, yeah, they know something is, there are at least conversations happening right now. You can't tell me there aren't conversations happening after that, because if there really were nothing going on, Zack would have just told us all this stuff.
Or the best moment ever, where Zack says something, and then when the monitor says, "Oh yeah, like on Netflix," Zack says like, "Yeah," and like notice after that he actually got a little bit more like silent after that. And he was a little more closed off for a little bit longer. Like he realized, oh crap, I just effed up.
Yeah, because, Zack will casually drop in, like, spoilers. Like, that's how he found out that Lois Lane dies in ZSJL 2. He goes, oh, yeah, so that happens when Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave to kill Lois. And what's up, Jay Heat?
What's up?
So we're talking about, right now we're talking about, like, the fact that at SnyderCon, I know we really went off topic, but okay, it's fine. Nothing Snyder is off topic for this channel. We talked about, hey, what's up, Master Sergeant? We talked about how, well, first off, Jay Heat, let me ask you this. What's the main advantage that you think indie has over mainstream and mainstream has over indie?
Let's see. Lower fan expectation, originality, proper creativity, less corporate sleeve. Mm-hmm. Should I go? I mean, Nick, am I wrong?
You're not.
And you're not wrong in terms of me too. But what would you say an advantage that mainstream has over indie?
Mainstream establishment, foundation, stronger IPs, profiteering, licensing. I mean, I could go on for days. This could be an all-day discussion if it really came down to it.
Mm-hmm. But going back to this, so what we're talking about right now is the fact that it's more than likely that something is happening on the Snyder front based upon what was said at Full Circle. So we're thinking that end of this year, earliest, beginning of next year is when we'll hear that something is happening behind the scenes.
I could see that, especially with the way they canonized the Snyder Cut for Flash, but that's probably just a bit of fan service since they're going to go in a new direction with DCU anyway.
But again, they could say Elseworlds.
It just depends on James Gunn. It really does.
That's true. Or Zaslav can just say, you're doing this.
Yeah, he could veto him. But
Tevya.
Yeah.
So regarding the state of play, it's actually today. I will be doing a live reaction stream with both Jay Heat, Snyder Queen, and Nyx will be there. It's going to be starting at 3:30 today, Eastern Standard Time, so about an hour and a half on my channel. Also, I want to also give a shout out to Taladia. Taladia is also doing a reaction on his channel with some of his people. So, for some reason you don't like my ugly face or whatever. I just want to give Taladia a shout out.
Definitely.
No,
and we actually reacted to Superman and Lois yesterday, so be sure to check that out either on my channel or his.
Nick, so far, to give you an idea of how the season is going, without spoiling it, you know how Mando had those 2 filler episodes?
Oh dear God!
The last 4 or 5 have been filler episodes.
5.
Literally half the season is filler.
Technically under half since it's 13 episodes.
No wonder this show is getting canceled.
Yeah, exactly. So, real quick, I want to go around the panel before we log off. Okay, over under chances that something is happening on the Snyder front. I want to go around. I'll start with Nick.
Over.
And also give me a percentage.
I say 70%.
Jay Heat?
50 to 65%. It could literally go either way. It just depends on current trends and what's going on behind the scenes.
And the problem, I was talking a lot about this. Gunn keeps saying stuff that indicates that he has no excuse not to besides ego, because he said, okay, we're going to do Elseworlds movie with Reeves and Todd Phillips Joker. We're going to license the Justice League show to Netflix. He keeps doing stuff that if he says no, it's hypocritical at worst.
See, it's very clear that James Gunn is not really the one calling the shots here. He's just developing the movies. It's very clear that Zaslav is the one who decides what goes where.
Zaslav has final say.
Yeah, but
no
like,
refuting
but
that.
the thing is, James Gunn is acting like he's the supreme authority over DC when it's very clear he's not.
I'm convinced Zaslav told him shut up on Twitter.
Yep.
I would not be surprised.
Which, again, because we've seen that Zaslav will do anything for money based upon, like, Batgirl or anything like that, no matter how crazy it looks. So, at some point, the Flash makes $1 billion. He's going to say, you're doing more of this.
If only Marvel could get some of their employees off Twitter, then this industry would be happy.
No. I want to play the scene out. You guys are going to love this.
Okay.
So Zaslav calls Gunn into a meeting, and Gunn walks in there, and Zaslav talking to someone he can't see. Oh, Gunn, thanks for coming. I'm sure you're acquainted with Zack Snyder. And then it's like, yes, let's have a meeting. I've been hearing about these like hashtags on Twitter. I think we should do something about this, Gunn. It's like, and Gunn, it's just like his face is just like the worst poker face. Like, yes, Mr. Zaslav, yes, like. And then I wake up.
No, but again, if the Flash makes $1 billion, if the Flash makes $1 billion, because again, even Muschietti says this movie could get a sequel if it's popular. So I'm like, if this movie's getting a sequel, despite the fact that they're rebooting the universe and going in a different direction, that tells me that even though they said they're fully committed to that, they're not fully committed.
And basically Flash makes $1 billion, and then David Zaslav shows up at Henry Cavill's place.
Dump truck of cash, take whatever you want.
It's like Henry, here is a blank check that has Warner Brothers accounting logo on it.
I'm going to give a scenario, Nick.
Okay.
Let me do mine. Okay. So all of a sudden, it's Zack Snyder's lounging at the house. He's probably working on some Rebel Moon stuff. All of a sudden, he hears. He's like, "Who's that?" He walks up. There's David Zaslav on his knees, going, "Please come back. We need you. Please come back."
And then he's like, "Can I do the Emerald cut?" Yes, anything.
Oh hell yes, do the Emerald cut, please. Do something. The Flash made $1 billion in your movie's canon. We have to do something.
One condition: no more studio interference. Anyone who ever tries that crap, they're fired immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair.
Here's the thing. Under DC Studio, he would tell Gunn, you can't interfere in this, because that's the only person who could interfere, because DC Studios is its own thing.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, none like neither Zach nor Gunn would go outright and say this, but like, I think Zach realizes that Gunn might interfere in a malicious way. Like, he'll never
big
say
time.
it. But like, there'll never be a report in the press. But I think, like, secretly he'll be talking to Zach. He'll be like, so I want to make sure that like Gunn doesn't like interfere with this. So like, he needs like minimal whatever.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Gunn would necessarily interfere because he knows what it's like to have people interfere with his movies. He knows what it's like for his creative movie.
Ego's still a factor, man.
People
I want Andy
things to protect their ego.
Yeah, I want Andy Muschietti to work with Zack Snyder. Zack has the badassery and Andy keeps the heart and humor with balance. That would be very interesting.
That'd be a good collab. That'd be a good dynamic.
Zack has heart and humor if you've seen the Snyder cut. But yes, I would love these two to collab together. It looks awesome. I doubt it. The thing about Gunn is that he is a director. He knows what interference is. That is true, though.
I mean, I would like to be as optimistic as you guys, but
all he has to do is say, "This is Elseworlds. This does not have anything to do with my universe." He can even put DC Elseworlds before. You know how they have the titles and the DC logo comes on. They could when the DC logo comes on, it could say Elseworlds.
Elseworlds.
Okay. It's
totally not James Gunn property. Please stop asking. No hashtags, please.
What's up, Jay Heat?
Even if you deviate from the Gunverse, as fans are starting to call it, this could easily be a behind-the-scenes uproar because Guardians 3 is reaching a decline. I'm not going to say it's a flop, but it's definitely a downward trend. It's just a lot of factors going on behind the scenes. I would not be surprised if Gunn did something drastic.
In fact, you know what's kind of funny, Taladia? Nick brought up before you came on, what happens if the Flash makes more than Guardians? How's that make Gunn look? Because that's not his movie.
And Zaslav will go to Gunn and be like, I am altering the deal. Pray I do not alter it further.
He does it in his dark side voice. If Elseworlds
literally Zaslav walks in the meeting with a Darth Vader mask on.
Yeah. Oh, and Matt Sturgeon makes a good point. If Elseworlds is actually a thing, we will see that written somehow into the Batman and Joker titles. Yeah, they'll say DC Elseworlds. Because if they say DC Elseworlds, there is no excuse for them not to do something, for them not to at least approach Zack and say, we could do this. It would be DC Elseworlds. It wouldn't have anything to do with my universe, but we want to give you the opportunity to. Plus, and I said this on Twitter, this would be a great way for DC to show people burying the hatchet with Zack Snyder, saying, I'm correcting the mistakes of the past regime.
Also, like, I feel like there is a scenario where you can get Henry to come back again, but Zack. It's going to take... no. Also, Jay, could you...
Yeah, Jay, I think your mic is rubbing against your shirt or something like that. Okay, good.
But there is a scenario where Henry can come back, but it's gonna take like literally like probably a good player pay. Like he's gonna ask, I guarantee you, he's gonna ask for a player pay contract. Mm-hmm. You know, where no matter what he gets paid. You know that is guaranteed.
That's happening.
But also probably he wants some assurances that this is gonna happen because he doesn't want to just come back and like make a bunch of noise and then get booted out. Though I do feel like I think Razorfist was the one who said this, where it's like there is a non 0% chance that Henry saw what they planned for Superman Legacy and he wanted no part of it.
Same thing with Affleck.
Like I really feel like that just like Occam's razor kind of says that to me. Like.
Yeah, and what this means is that if it's Zack, again, if it's Zack, I guarantee you the cast comes back, Ray comes back, everyone comes back, because they know even if Warner Brothers tries stuff with like Henry's contract or anything like that, Zack will stick up for them.
Yeah, I probably in Henry's contract, he probably has to have script approval, it'll probably be written into his contract to where.
And again, realistically, we would only get. ZSJL 2 and 3, and maybe the Batfleck series on Max. That's it.
That's a fair assessment.
I would love Man of Steel 2, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to be realistic in what we would get if this scenario played out. And yes, the DC animated movies are also too. They can even do it animated. I would prefer live action, but that's besides the point.
And cheap plug, and I'm going to make this very quick. Cheap plug. Be sure to check out our new Directionverse series on mine and Comics League's channel. So, if you want something entertaining.
Here's another one. It'll make Snyderverse money, upper millions of money at least, at most $1 billion.
At most $1 billion, like right at it. I feel like this is going to make as much as Batman v Superman did, the theatrical version, because
at the very least, I think it at least makes Aquaman money.
It's going to make
best case scenario.
Okay, I'm going to put an actual number to all this and say 800 to 900 million, maybe $1 billion.
That's a fair assessment.
Again, that would be more than Guardians. So again,
also to note, if it does 800 million, it will have done more than Patterson.
Oh. Okay, I will say this.
Flash will have done more money
than Batman.
Let that sink in.
But again,
only because he had a Batman of his own.
This is a Flash movie that has Batman, 2 Batman in it. What rumor is it? 3 Batman in it.
What's the what?
I don't think that Clooney shows up.
Do you guys know how much disdain Clooney has for his Batman? Like, if you go up and tell him that you saw Batman and Robin in theaters, he gives a refund. By the way, I'm owed a refund by George Clooney because I actually saw Batman and Robin in theaters. So.
It's really funny. Someone asked him during an interview when the Flash thing was happening and they announced Keaton. It's like, have they asked you to come back? He goes, no, I guess when you tank the franchise, they don't ask you to come back.
At least he's in good humor about it. The only thing that, like, I wish Val Kilmer was in better health because, like, I would have so loved to see Val Kilmer come back.
Realistically, I see ZSJL 1 might not be happening, but we shall see. Again, I've said what they could do is do ZSJL 1 and 2 as movies, and then do like the other projects as animated and or comics. That's the.
I'd argue Chris O'Donnell did more damage to Batman and Robin than anything.
I'm going solo.
Like if that was Jason Todd's Robin, no one would have cared.
Okay. We'll I think this is probably discussion for another.
Maybe UTC.
Yeah,
but,
that's fair.
So on that note,
I will defend Batman forever, but yeah, Batman and Robin is hot trash.
Yeah. On that note, I'm gonna call this one, but this was a very a lot of people watch this, and this is fun. So Superman Legacy is gonna be basically a live action version of Man Tomorrow, which I'm fine with that because I like that movie. But so I'm gonna go around. And Nick, where can we find you? And what have you got coming on the channel?
All right, so here in a little over an hour, I'll be doing a live reaction stream to the PlayStation Showcase. Jay Heat will be joining us. Also, our queen, the Snyder Queen, will be with us. Also, Nick's frequent guest of this show, you know, and yeah, pretty cool. So I do have to say, because of reasons, I had to push Super Swim Brothers over to tomorrow, so that'll be premiering tomorrow. And then we got a Friday night frenzy,
episode, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then on Friday we will be reacting to the movie the Avatar movie that does not exist.
Oh, you mean with Ong?
Yes.
Roll the clip. Roll the clip. He deserves it. Roll the clip.
It's my show.
If you were a true Atlas fan, you would know why this is justified.
Why did you say that name?
So yes. So and then on Monday we'll be starting book 2 of Avatar, and that's kind of why we're reacting to this film. Just kind of like as a kind of get people back and like the thing of it, you know. It's like if I'm gonna react to the movie, like now is like literally the perfect time to do it. So
good luck holding in the cringe. I didn't even make it. I stepped out of the theater. I'm like, done. That's it. No.
You know what's gonna happen? It's gonna. If you guys have watched my live stream where I rewatched Justice League, that's gonna be what it is for Nick.
Let me give you a live reaction.
By the way, and Tron is gonna be this Saturday on Comics League for movie night. Tron Legacy.
That's my pick. So here's a preview of like me, something that I'm gonna be doing like 3 or 4 times.
We're gonna all do that.
Yeah.
And what we have to do, when the credits start rolling, we have to clap and go, "Thank God it's over!"
There's a very particular moment, that like everyone knows I'm gonna be walking out, like
with Sokka.
Yep.
Nope.
Nope.
It's the Earth. It deals with Earth bending.
Oh yeah, you mean the fart airbending?
Oh, I still need to send you that clip from Legend of Korra, but no, it's like the Earth.
You'll know when you see it.
You'll know when you see it. Don't tell me the scene. Don't tell me the scene.
But like I just say, when you're watching book 2 and you see what Earthbender can actually do, then you will fully understand the scene.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Jay Heat. Well, where can we find you? What have you got coming out?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter, JJHeat75. You can find J Heat Blaze on YouTube. The new direction I already told you about with Jared. Be sure to check that out. Later tonight, I will be going over July and August 2023 solicitations because I did have to push some projects back from full circle. And also get ready not only for New Direction Green Lantern this weekend, but a certain Bendis point we've been cooking up for y'all. So stay tuned for that.
Which basically is a what if story. What if Brian Michael Bendis never came to DC?
Ooh.
Because Nick, you would be surprised how much of DC that affected.
Wow.
Like pretty much all of DC. But that's besides the point. But so in terms of Comics League this week on Under Two Capes, we're talking about Amalgam Comics. Next week we can talk a little bit about, like, if you want, we can talk about the problems with like Batman and Robin and such. We can do a discussion on that. Obviously, we have Comics League Dark. Movie night is going to be, again, Tron Legacy, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in terms of other Comics League stuff, we'll work on the comic and everything. And on that note, everyone, yeah, yeah, go ahead. It's blurry.
All right, let me just turn off real quick.
Yeah, and then we'll log off. There you go. Yes, I have that too. So on that note, everyone, stay heroic, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.
Wonder Bat.
Batman doesn't do ships.
With great power